Last time I talked about one of the TV DVDs that I was watching for the last few months, and that was Whispering Smith, and I kind of went off on a tangent, and I'm going to do it here, so that's a trigger warning. This show here, Tombstone Territory, I got the complete series, and it's another vintage Western, television Western from the late 50s to early 60s. I think it ran from 1957 to 61, something like that. And anyway, I remember this show when I was a little bitty girl. We're talking like 3 or 4 years of age. And so, don't remember much about it the first time I saw it. But anyway, it was kind of like, in a way, like Death Valley days, that it was supposed to be kind of loosely based on real happenings at this location. But I think it was probably more fictionalized than anything. And anyway, on the show, it says that it was that they had acknowledged the Tombstone epitaph and their writers and historians for ideas or for basis in stories. Anyway, I'm just doing this off the cuff. I don't have a script, as you can tell. Anyway, this show starred Pat Conway, who wasn't all that well known, and he would never really be that well known after this series. The show was owned by Ziv Productions, and that rang a bell right off the bat for me, because the man Frederick Ziv, who produced it, owned the production company. He was born in 1905, died in 2001. But he had produced or co-produced many television programs. And the best known one was Sea Hunt. That was the first syndicated hit show. And it was in syndication its entire run. And it made Lloyd Bridges a star. So that one, right off the bat, is what I associate with Ziv. I thought this show was also syndicated for its entire run, but I was surprised to find out that no, it had run on ABC the first 2 seasons, and then the last season it was in syndication, and that might have been when I had first seen it, and we're talking like I was age 5 years of age, that it might have been in its last season. But anyway, it's an okay show. It's another okay show, and you'll see the same actors that are familiar to people, and that's one of the reasons I enjoy watching these shows, is to see the actors on there that either were part of a stock company and they would appear over and over and over again, or they were actors who got their start on television and later became famous. And I could go into that, but I won't. Pat Conway was not a household word, but he had connections. He definitely had connections. He was real young when he started on this show. He was only around 26 years of age. He looked a bit older. That might be because he spent quite a few years working on his dad's ranch. His father was director and producer Jack Conway, who directed quite a few films for the studios. He directed Clark Gable in Boomtown and Honky Tonk and the Hucksters. I best remember him for his work in the 1936 screwball classic, Libel Lady, which had starred Jean Harlow, Myrna Loy, Spencer Tracy, and William Powell. Absolute classic. Anyway, Jack Conway was born around 1883 or something like that. Maybe longer than that. Or 1885, I think it was. 1885 or 1886, and he died in around 1952. I don't have the dates right with me, but anyway, he was about 65 when he died, and his second wife was 20 years younger than he was, and that was Pat Conway's mother, and that woman also had connections, Virginia Bushman, because she was a daughter of silent screen heartthrob Francis X. Bushman. And she lived to be 96, so she had a good long life too. But Pat Conway was only 50 when he passed away, and he didn't have much of a film or television career, not too much after this series ended. So anyway, it's a good series, and this is an aside here, and about television westerns, that I kind of think the half-hour shows that, and all four of these shows that I'm going to talk about that I'm watching now, they're each half hour in length. But I think half hour is optimal for westerns. I think an hour is kind of pushing it, and 90 minutes, forget it. That's way too long. So, but half hour, it gets everything in there that you need. That requires some pretty good writing skills, script writing skills. And so, anyway, another interesting fact about going back to Pat Conway, his another cousin had married Harry Morgan, who was featured in MASH, and he was also in December Bride and Pete and Gladys, and he was marvelous in those last two shows because of his part. So anyway, this is one show that I've been watching, and I found it highly entertaining. And the co-star there, and I'm not going to bring up his name right off the bat, but he was a newspaper editor, so the show was narrated by the newspaper editor of the Tombstone Epitaph, which I said is a real publication, and so to give it some kind of authenticity to it. So it's an entertaining show. So that's one that I've been watching. And that's all I have to talk about in my little ramble for today. Bye.